In this video, I'll show you how to implement a deep copy of our employee class. In fact, I started my demonstration at the level of the full-time employee. But we recognize that all we need to do is only override the clonable in the employee class. Right, so we added the clone method here, and then we, of course, need to say implements clonable. So at this stage, it is likely a right thing to just remove the clone implementation from the full-time employee right here, and just keep our demonstration in a clean state, relying on the employee implementation of the clone. So here I'll just say remove clonable. This was only a demonstration earlier, and just get rid of this override for the clone. Okay, so I'm just removing this. So now this is just a regular full-time that just extends the employee. But of course it inherits the cloning implemented by its superclass employee. So we should be fine. Next, because we also know that we need to also be able to clone the paycheck objects. Let's make it also clonable, but nothing special here, just a shallow copy. So I'll just say implements clonable. Okay, just like we do this at the employee class. And for the operations, and just before the getters and setters, we can say it like this. And I intentionally indicated this is just a shallow copy to make it obvious what we're doing here at the paycheck class. And now we're ready to update the employee clone. So this is our current method, clone. So I'm going to make it obvious that this was also a shallow clone. Okay, so this was a shallow copy example. I'll just keep it for our reference for the future. But now we need to indicate that this will be a deep copy. So step number one, we can get our cloned employee. So we're just going to call the object class version of clone and say that we want to get our clone copy. So this we have to cast back to the employee type, and we get our clone employee. So the next step would be to clone the paycheck. Okay, so what we do is we take our cloned employee, okay, just like this, and we say, okay, get paycheck, so that gives us a reference to the original paycheck, and then we clone it, because we now know how to clone the paycheck class just fine. And the next two steps are pretty simple. We now want to say clone paycheck, your employee is clone employee, and clone employee, your paycheck is clone paycheck. So essentially we just modify what we cloned so far. And for the final step, we need to return an object from the clone method, so we just simply return back the clone employee. Okay, so that's the work done. Okay, so I'm going to save everything. And in our main method, we still have this check for shallow or deep clone copy of our cloning method. So let's test this again. And so this time it prints that the clone was deep, indicating that the clone employee now has the clone paycheck. And as we were able to test the full-time employee cloning right here, we should also be able to test the part-time employee cloning, because everything is implemented at the superclass level. Of course, the index of the second part-time employee on our list is 1, so that's why I just changed it to 1. And we can do a similar testing right here. Just copy and paste this if statement and update the indices. So we're going to compare index 1 and index 3. Okay, run it, and so both clones are deep copies, so this is exactly what we need. Also, for debugging purposes, to distinguish which one of these is which one is the original and which one is the clone, maybe we can go back to our cloning method and just insert one more line, something like this, right? So we can just mark the clone employee with the second suffix for debugging reasons. If I run it now with this change, we can clearly see that these are the modified, the cloned instances of our objects. Okay, so that's the latest version which takes care of the deep copy.